doesn't get much better than that. Yeah. I spent last winter in Norway working as a dog mushing guide at a resort there in just near Tromsø at about 69 degrees latitude. And I had spent a number of years working as a dog musher in the Yukon, and it was really interesting, the contrast. Although I was 9 degrees farther north than I was in the Yukon, it was actually much warmer. We sort of averaged -2 or something like that during the winter. And had quite a bit of rain in January. And the landscape, of course, was completely different as well. And it was a gorgeous experience living on the fjord. I lived in a house that looked over the fjord. I had French doors that opened up onto a balcony, and it was pretty dreamy. But it was also interesting to live in this circumstance. After having been living in the Yukon, I lived on a place called Squatters Row in the Yukon, and in a little cabin. There was no actual street sign for Squatters Row, and no numbers on the houses, and just kind of hardscrabble lifestyle, a bunch of interesting folks. And then being in Norway and living in this resort, and then being kind of surrounded by capitalism and debauchery, and sort of trying to figure out how to be my best person in that context.
My time.
As my fondness grows for bitterness, I oscillate between a mindful path and suffering that noble truths relieve. Well, if there is any virtue in the precepts that I heed, may it rise again, may it rise again. Even if my former self attains some clarity, all my cells are splitting, they're recreating me, and will I keep dividing till there's nothing left to see? And will I rise again? Will I rise again? Such are my great expectations, dashed away on a graveyard. How can it be this place is melting because of me? How can that be? I swam across the ocean to 69 degrees. I find my life exhausting, all this stimulus I need. Well, if there be a weight in my enthusiastic, may it rise again, may it rise again. I'm emerging from a bubble as a patriarch decrees that immigrants are gonna bring this country to its knees. Well, somewhere in this person is the compassion that we need. May it rise again, may it rise again. Such are my great expectations, dashed away on a graveyard. How can it be this place is melting because of me? How can that be?
Did you try not to jiggle the table?
Thank you. When I arrived in Norway, it was late November, and at that point we were getting about 2 hours of dim light each day, and it was interesting to arrive to that and try and figure out how things worked, trying to learn the dog trails in the dark. taking the guests out in the dark. Often the guests were surprised that it was dark. I don't know. They drive and we give them a headlamp and what? They're not going to be able to actually see the trail? No, nobody gets to see it. And when the winter solstice came, which I've sort of gotten used to celebrating as the return of the light, there was really nothing to celebrate at that point. It was still really dark. And the light actually started coming back. The sun, I saw the sun for the first time. It came over the horizon in late January. And it was a fairly painful experience on my eyeballs. But it was at that point that we celebrated, and it was great to get to be able to be there for that long and watch the light play on the fjord each day and change, and to realize partway through this experience, after having been there for a couple of months, that Norway is quite beautiful. I just hadn't had a chance to see it yet. And so living on the fjord, I started imagining this love story. I stand on the shore of a broken fjord, frozen no more, this beckoning sea. My hand from yours was silently torn while I was distracted by beckoning sea. Johnny says my love for you will never come undone, and my heart still holds on to when you and I were one. But there will be no wedding bells and clouds now block the sun, for I have proved unfaithful to my darling Johnny Long. We built a boat, the two of us, the world ours to explore, the dreams we shared of traveling to land at distant shores. When storms would blow upon us, you always used to say, just keep rowing, Katie dear, and we will find our way. When our boat sank, you said to me, let's head toward the shore. I promised I would follow till I could swim no more. But as I swam the siren's cut, I dared to look away. When I turned back, you had gone. I broke our love that day. Now I stand at the shore, broken fjord, frozen no more, this beckoning sea. My hand from yours was silently torn while I was distracted by beckoning sea. Thanks very much. I think I'm just going to do one more tune, and then we're going to take a short break, and then Ian's going to get up. I want to say a big thanks to Ian for letting me tag along. We've done a few shows together this winter, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm going to play this next tune, is one that Ian keeps requesting, and he said that he'd play a song for me tonight that I requested, so I'm gonna return the favor. And this is one that I wrote. I used to take the bus quite a bit between Whitehorse and Ottawa when I go back to visit my family. I do recommend it if you haven't. I mean, we have such a big country and there's a lot to see, and while the bus only goes through part of it, you know, you do get 4 days to look out the window, and how often does that happen in life, really? But it used to be that the bus ticket, if you bought it 2 weeks ahead of time, it was only $130, so you couldn't really beat the price.
Put the wine here, Marilyn.
And I would, you know, I'd bring a jar of peanut butter and somehow live off of that for 4 days. It got to the point though, because I was making the trip, you know, every year for Christmas coming home or whatever, and I got to the point where I come home and I say to my family, "You better be glad that I'm here." So I realized I was losing my enthusiasm for the trip. So it seems to be that I'm mostly flying these days, which I have noticed. I haven't written any songs about that, so it's telling. Ticket if I didn't want to go. I did not think of that till I was on my way. Well, she's a big old lake, but her business is her own. There is no call for my heart to ache. No one else on this bus seems to share my sorrow for parting ways. This trip will be a long one if I weep for every town I pass and cannot stay. A walk around Wainwright was enough to bring to mind every sad prairie song I know. What would it be like to lead the Wainwright life, to paint tablecloths and sell them at shows, to be one of this bus who's not showing sorrow for parting ways? This trip will be a long one if I weep for every town I pass and cannot stay. Sits behind me is going the same way. She's setting out to make a new home. Well, I've shut myself off, 'cause I'd rather not talk. I'd rather suffer this trip alone, 'cause no one else on this bus seems to share my sorrow for parting ways. This trip has been a long one, and I've wept for every time